In JavaScript, sometimes you might have seen some code examples like this. We have a function called do something, and then after that function is over, we do something else, then do another thing, then do next task, and if something fails, we call fail to do. From this code example, you can see that using this then keyword, we are chaining our function calls. So this is one block, this is another block, we have three blocks like that, and then another catch block. This do something function is returning one promise, and using that promise we are chaining our next function calls. So from this code sample only you can uh, find some behaviors of promises. So let's find out one by one. First of all, if the do something function is returning a promise, and that promise has this then function, then definitely that is an object, right? Promise is an object. And next will be promise has a then function. Promise can have catch function. Now try to find out the behavior of this. So here you can see that in then function we are passing a different callback. This callback is going to be called in the future sometime. Similarly, in the next block also we are passing a callback. So from this example we can find out that promise has a state. You can see here that in then function it is something like you do something, and then if something goes right then do something else, and we have a catch. That means if something doesn't go right we can gracefully fail it. So that means promise can be either fulfilled or it can throw some error or it can be rejected. So here comes our next principle. Promise can be fulfilled or rejected. And if you want to know the full specification, you can always go to promise a plus specification. If you search promise a plus in Google, you will find the specification. You can read the specification, and well, you don't have to read all this. So now you know the basic principles of promises. So why not implement something? Write some code. So I'm writing the do something function. We have this do something, and do something function should return a promise. So let's return a new promise. Now this promise will be resolved or rejected in the future. So for that we can pass a callback function. This callback function is going to take two arguments, resolve and reject. Both resolve and reject are functions, and when we call this function, that kind of promise will get resolved or rejected. So we can directly resolve it with some value. So we can pass a value here, or we can reject it like this with some error. So normally we use promise because we want to do some asynchronous operation. So why not just write one asynchronous operation like set timeout? Set timeout is a very common asynchronous function. So let's say after 2 seconds this function is going to be called, and that time I want to resolve it with some value. Okay, I don't want to reject here. So what will happen here is in do something, here in we're calling this do something function, and then uh, this callback is going to be called, right? And the value that you're passing in resolve, you will get that here. So the value of data will be 11 here. Now look at this return statement here. Why am I returning this uh, function? Because in then function, in then callback, you can return a value or a promise. So let's say I'm not returning this, I'm returning one value. That is also fine. This value, return value, this return value will get in the next uh, chain, okay, in the next callback. So we are returning this 12 here. In the next callback function you will get this value in data 1. So data 1 will be, but if you're returning a promise like this, so this do something else function is also returning a promise. That's how you are just returning it. So if you're doing that, then you can just easily chain it. That's why we are returning in every statement. So here in this second line also, second callback also, we're returning. In this way you can just chain different functions one after another. Now I want to say something about the catch clause. So catch is for catching the errors, and if you reject a promise, this catch function is going to be called, and you will get the error message here. So let's say I'm, instead of resolving, I'm rejecting it, rejecting with some error called error 1. So here you will get the error equals to error. Now one thing to note here, that even if we have this 3 then block, these then blocks are not going to be called. Only this catch is going to be called because you are rejecting the promise. So no matter how many then clauses are there, only the first catch clause is going to be called. Then you can chain it. You can chain and you can write another then block. That is absolutely fine. But the error will propagate from top to bottom, and whenever it's getting a catch clause, it's going to handle it. Then the chain will go on after that. So that's it for today, guys. If you have any suggestion, please let me know in the comment section below. And in the next video, I'll try to cover the implementation of promise framework.